Oh, look, it's that time of the month again. Let's take a look at all the books we added to the collection in May. Welcome back to Comics Are Dope. I'm BJ Kicks, and well, this is the monthly comic haul video. Every month, I like to show you everything I added to the collection, mostly just to kind of keep me accountable, but also as a thank you to the publishers and you guys as the viewers for making it possible for me to buy literally any of these things at all. So I am going to start off like I always do with the books that I purchased and paid for myself, and then we'll get into things that were gifts from different publisher partners here on the channel. So before I get started, huge shout out to Organic Price Books. They've been running a sale all month, and right now I think there's still a little bit of time left on their DC Black Label sale. So 50% off DC Black Label titles. Go to organicpricebooks.com, and if you use my code BJKicks at checkout, you'll get an extra $2 off even the sale orders, which is crazy work. Crazy work. Shout out to you, JP. Now, like I said, let's start off with the books that I purchased myself this month, or the month of May. And we'll start off with Zoro, Man of the Dead. This is written and drawn by one Sean Gordon Murphy. This was a series that he originally kickstarted because he got the rights he acquired the rights to Zoro and decided to tell his own Zoro story. So it was kickstarted first and had like these kind of oversized editions, and then it came out in single issues. And now this book is out in trade paperback. It's about this dude whose name I believe is Diego, who's like basically believes himself to be Zoro. He's like mentally ill, and him believing himself to be Zoro actually puts him in the crossfires of the real life cartel, and chaos and hilarity ensues. Really interesting stuff there. Quite honestly, I forgot that I pre-ordered this through my LCS via Comic Hub, and so here we are with a copy, $17.99 in case you're looking for that, from Massive Publishing. Next up is actually a set of like a self-published kind of like manga style, but it's actually a Western comic. But this is called Sons of Fate, and it's written by Jean-Paul Deschang, and it's actually, there's 4 volumes of this, and so this is volume 1. Well, excuse me, no, it's not. That's volume 3. I stacked them in the wrong order. This is volume 1. It's called Origins, which makes sense for volume 1. We got volume 2, which is called Legacy. And then volume 3 is actually told in 2 parts. And so here is volume 3, part 1, Revolution, and volume 3, part 2, also called Revolution. So interesting stuff. It's about like this dude. It's like this warriors in Japan is basically what it is. I love the art style here. I actually met Jean-Paul at New York Comic-Con and did not realize he was the same person behind this when I bought it. This was a recommendation from my LCS owner, my man Danny. And so I bought it, and then I had an email from Jean-Paul like, hey, I heard you bought it. Let me know what you think. And I was like, oh, snap. I remember you. I do remember you. So cool stuff there. I will say these were a little bit pricey. The volumes ranged from I think the cheapest one was $19.99. I think I'm lying. I think the cheapest one was $24.99, and the others were like $29.99. So a little bit pricey for, the product, but I think that's just kind of what you get. If I compare that to something like this from Marvel, this was $19.99 from Marvel for 6 issues. This definitely is a heftier package, but definitely pricier. So shout out to my man Jean-Paul Deschang, and blackberryjuice.net is where you can get these. So bought those at my LCS, and I also bought this. This is Batman Full Moon. This is a story written by Rodney Barnes with art by Steven Subic. Basically, if you liked Philadelphia and you wanted something, kind of horror leaning with Batman, this is Batman versus a bunch of werewolves. The art style is very cool. it does remind me a bit of Jason Shawn Alexander's art on Philadelphia. So cool stuff there. The gimmick with this book was that every cover for the single issues was glow in the dark. And so I bought all the single issues like, oh, I can't get glow in the dark any other way. And then when they printed the hardcover is also printed with glow in the dark ink. So joke's on me. $29.99 for this. So maybe I take back what I said about Jean Paul's book, because this is also $29.99 and $29.99. Definitely a lot more pages for the price on the Jean Paul side. Now, next up, also purchased this from my LCS. I pre-ordered this. This is Superman Up in the Sky, the deluxe edition, written by Tom King, art by Andy Kubert, inks by Sandra Hope, colors by Brad Anderson. This is probably the definitive modern Superman story. I think I agree with my man Jake from The Brave and the Boys when he says that this is like, if you're gonna hand a kid a book who's like, hey, who's Superman? This, I do think, best encapsulates Superman's personality. I think there are other modern Superman stories that get the job done as well, but they're not as short and accessible as this one. So I'm really excited that this is out. Basically, there's a girl that goes missing, and Superman goes to the ends of the galaxy to find her. And through all these trials, it's almost like the trials of Hercules. He goes through like a different sort of opponent and little mini task in each chapter of the book. This was originally printed in like those Walmart 100-page giants. And so they were told in like 12-page stories each. And we got 12 of those. And anyway, it's the equivalent of like a 6-issue miniseries, like as far as content, but it's told in 12 chapters, or is it 10? The point is, it's told in chapters, and each chapter is like a different sort of mini challenge Superman is up against. And by the time you read all of it, you kind of know Superman really well. And so I thought that was pretty good, actually. Next up, purchased from the LCS, this is A Vicious Circle by Lee Bermejo, and Mattson Tomlin is the writer. So I believe he's the screenwriter behind The Batman. But A Vicious Circle, basically about this dude who was an assassin in a past life, and basically that life caught up with him. And, once tragedy strikes in his family very early on, he's on a revenge mission. The catch is the revenge mission takes him across like time and space. And the art in this is phenomenal. This book, it was as a 3-issue miniseries, and it took like 3 issues for this whole thing to come out. It was kind of crazy. 3 issues, 3 years for this whole thing to come out. But now we've got the whole thing in one oversized hardcover, and I like it. It's like magazine sized. It's as tall and as an omnibus, but a little bit wider. So cool stuff there. And I think that's it. Those are all the books I bought from my LCS. I do have a package here that I bought from Organic Price Books, and that is these two right here. We got Batman Volume 1 by James Tynion, the 4th. This was my first full Batman run. I came into comics when Tom King was still writing Batman. My first issue of Batman was like the In the City of Bane storyline. That kind of came to a close. The controversy about that book is that, it ends with the death of a character, basically. And then that death is spoiled for you on the back page of this omnibus. I won't spoil it here. But when James Tynion came on to Batman, everybody was just raving about how he had previously done Detective Comics, and this was going to be the most amazing thing ever. And for the most part, this first volume lives up to that. This first volume basically goes from the beginning of Tynion's run all the way up through Joker War. And that part of this run, phenomenal. The stuff that came after Joker War, I was kind of like, but this was really good. The second volume will have the whole Fear State saga, and who knows when they're going to do that. I haven't seen it solicited, but shout out to OPB for this. Cover price was $125. I believe I paid $72 for this. That sounds right, but I'm really not sure. And the other book I bought, making it a DC doubleheader, is Justice League by Scott Snyder and James Tynion. So this Justice League run actually was going right before I got into comics in 2019. My first Justice League issue, I believe, was written by Robert Venditti after this was over. And all the hype was, oh, well, since Scott Snyder left Justice League, it hasn't been as fun or as good. I don't know if that's true or not. I do know I wasn't particularly enjoying the Justice League stuff that came after. I feel like Bendis had a turn on it. There were a few different writers on Justice League before they finally kind of killed them off before Dark Crisis. But this right here, Justice League by Scott Snyder, is something I'm very excited to get into. This basically fits between Dark Knight's Metal and Dark Knight's Death Metal. So excited to see what happens, because Dark Knight's Death Metal was my first comic crossover event, and I enjoyed that, but I didn't read the stuff that led up to it with Perpetua and the Batman Who Laughs and all that stuff. So excited to get into that one. And I think that's everything that I bought this month. Probably spent too much money. I saw those creator-owned volumes, and I was like, I gotta support. And yeah, so there's that. Now let's get into a couple of books that were sent my way. Both of these from Fantagraphics Press, but this first one is called Tower of Shadows. This is the Lost Marvels Volume 1. Tower of Shadows was a 9-issue horror series from Marvel, done basically in the time, like a couple decades after the Comics Code Authority became a thing. So publishers had basically stopped producing horror comics, and all that stuff went to the underground. And this book was one of the first horror book kind of back on shelves. It's never been reprinted before now. And this oversized book by Fantagraphics is actually really cool. It's taller than an omnibus. Therefore, it does not fit on my omnibus shelf. So I had to make special room for it on that shelf. But hey, cool stuff there. I really love the paper quality on this. And if you are a comics history fan or a horror comics fan, this is definitely a good book for you. And the cover price on it is only $34.99. And the last book I got here from Fantagraphics is Walt Disney's Mickey Mouse and the Amazing Lost Ocean. Mickey Mouse and the Amazing Lost Ocean. This was a story that was originally published in France, and I guess has never been printed here in America before, but it's like a super oversized volume as well. My dogs are going crazy. I don't know if you hear that, but it's an oversized volume as well. It's even bigger than the Lost Marvels, and it's a graphic novel basically. It's one Mickey Mouse story where Mickey Mouse and, all his friends, Goofy and such, are explorers. And, Pete is the villain. And this just feels like it's supposed to be like one of those mini movies that they used to do, like Mickey's Once Upon a Christmas. But really, really cool. I was just really astounded by how awesome the art in this volume is. Like it feels cinematic. It looks cinematic. I love the shading. I love everything about the art in this book. And the story was really fun and charming. And I don't know, man. I would not have considered myself a quote unquote Disney kid or even a Disney adult. Like, I had a lot of Disney movies, but I wasn't one of those diehards like my man Chris Baga, who goes to Disney World every year with his kids. But every time I get one of these overseas Disney volumes, it's like the best thing ever. So really love this. Mickey Mouse and the Amazing Lost Ocean, $24.99. There's a cover price on that. All right, so after a quick commercial break, it is time for the Marvel Minute. These are all the Marvel trades that I received in the month of May, and I always like to do these first. I like to start with the actual newly collected stuff, because this is the stuff that's relevant right now. So these are in no particular order, by the way, but we got Ultimate X-Men Volume 2 by Peach Momoko. If you guys have been following the pull list, then you know that I was behind on this series forever. And technically, I'm still behind on this series, but I'm not behind on the trades. I read Volume 1 and 2 for an upcoming Ultimate Universe sort of year in review that I'm going to do really shortly. And this is actually really good. The Ultimate X-Men does not feel like any other X-Men book. It doesn't feel like any other Ultimate Universe book, but it plays with the idea of what it means to be a mutant in this different universe. There's a whole new cast of characters, but what's familiar about them is their power set. And so you kind of, once you know their power set, you're trying to figure out how this fits in with the world of the X-Men that you know. And it doesn't exactly, but this kind of plays up on the mutant metaphor in some interesting ways. This isn't supposed to be a review. It's just a haul video, but this is actually really good. If you have not been giving Ultimate X-Men by Peach Momoko a chance, I don't blame you, because it is very different than everything else. It reads like a young adult horror manga, but when you read it in binges like this, if you trade weight for this book, you'll be rewarded in your reading experience. It's kind of all I'll say about that. $19.99 is the cover price. Sticking to the X-Men, we got Giantsize XMen, a tribute to Wayne and Cockrum. This came out a while back. I remember buying the single issue of this. And the single issue of the tribute to Wayne and Cockrum is basically a panel-for-panel recreation of Giantsize XMen #1. And then what you get as an extra in this trade is you actually get the original Giantsize XMen issue 1. And then after that, you get a cover gallery, a bunch of extras, posters, tributes. We get interviews. Here's an interview with Christine Vallada, who is the wife of Len Wein. Did not know that she was a 4-time Jeopardy champion. That's interesting. There's also an interview with Dave Cockrum's wife as well. There's a feature by Chris Claremont. So there's a lot in here for the X-Men fans. I don't know if this came out on a hardcover. I feel like it did, but if you missed out on that, grab this. It feels like a must-have for X-Men fans. Next up, Spirits of Vengeance, Vengeance Unchanged. This is Spirits of Vengeance, the 2024 series, issues 1 through 6, by Sabir Pirzada, Sean Hill, Chris Campagna. There's a lot of names on this book. So Spirits of Vengeance, that would be Ghost Rider. And does this pick up where that other book with Deken left off? That I'm not sure of. The Helverine book. Looks like this is mostly Ghost Rider stuff. Interesting. Oh, no. This does follow that same saga. Interesting. Cool stuff there. Next up, Deadpool Volume 2, The Death of Wade Wilson. Spoiler alert, Wade Wilson dies, and there's a new Deadpool in his place. How's that come to be? Read that there. Cody Ziegler, Alexis Casarano, Rogue Antonio, Andrea DeVito, Guru EFX on colors, $15.99 on this one. Next up, the finale of J. Michael Straczynski's Captain America run, Jesus Saiz, Carlos Magno, Matt Hollingsworth, Espen Grundetern. This is interesting. This is, I didn't realize this had ties into the Krakoa era and all of that. I need to read this like ASAP. Cover price on this is $15.99. Some really great artwork in here. This is a newer series from Steve Orlando. This is Avengers Assemble. This is a 2024 miniseries, issues 1 through 5. This comes right after in the aftermath of the Blood Hunt event. So interesting stuff there. You can kind of think of them as like a new Avengers group, if you will. But Captain America's the leader. Monica Rambeau's on the team. Hawkeye. Who else do I recognize? Wonder Man, Hercules, She-Hulk, and Shang-Chi. Look at me knowing my Marvel characters. Give it up from me. Next up, Miles Morales, Spider-Man, Volume 6, Webs of Wakanda. So this is also in the immediate aftermath of the Blood Hunt event. Spoiler alert, Miles became a vampire in the Blood Hunt event. This book is about T'Challa helping Miles get control over his vampirism. And there are some interesting ways that happens. This collects issues 27 through 29 of the Cody Ziegler Miles Morales run, the annual, and issue number 25 as well. I don't know why they listed them in that order. $15.99 though on that trade. Let's go over to the X-Men. We got Exceptional X-Men here. This being the third of the flagship titles of this From the Ashes era, joining X-Men and the Uncanny X-Men. This, the way I described it after first reading, was kind of like the New Mutants of the bunch. But when you read those other two titles, they all kind of have like New Mutants sensibilities in one way or another. But this follows Kitty Pryde, Emma Frost. In the aftermath of Krakoa, Kate Pryde wants nothing to do with like the mutant struggle, but her conscience won't let her stay on the sidelines. And so she meets these, new mutants who are hated and feared, and she's basically like kind of running a school for them. So cool stuff there. Let's see, $17.99 on that volume. Next up, this is Phases of the Moonnight. This is basically an anthology series of a bunch of different Moon Knight stories that can be in or out of continuity, depends on what you like. But Phases of the Moonnight. This is a great book for like to just hand to a Moon Knight fan. It's not tied into the stuff Jed MacKay was doing around the time. It actually came in a break between Moon Knight volumes, and so cool stuff there. $17.99 on that. Here was one I was really excited about. This is the Avengers Volume 4, Storm. Storm joins the Avengers, is really all you need to know. Issue 17 through 24 of that Jed MacKay series. This comes right before One World Under Doom is where this ends up, if I'm not mistaken. And the last new trade paperback collection I got here is Star Wars Ahsoka. This is actually written by Rodney Barnes. It was an 8-issue miniseries, but basically the Ahsoka TV series is adapted into this comic. It's basically shot for shot the Ahsoka series. So if you didn't watch that, or if you watched it and you loved it and you want to spend more time with it in a different way, check that out. Shout out to Torrin Clark drawing Rosario Dawson on the back. That's cool. So that's what we've got there for the new trades. Now let's look at a few of the Epic collections that I was able to pick up. We got Deadpool Epic Collection Volume 5. This collecting the first 19 issues of the Brian Posehn and Jerry Duggan Deadpool series. This actually, what's funny is I remember hearing about this volume of Deadpool. I was not reading comics at the time, but basically I was super big into underground hip hop, and the rapper Jean Grey, not to be confused with Phoenix, but she actually makes an appearance in this series, I believe in issue 25, so not in this volume, but coming up soon if you keep collecting these epic collections. Modern epics, that is. Speaking of a not so modern epic, we got the Avengers Volume 12, collecting this is where Jim Shooter takes over the Avengers, and that's pretty interesting. We've got Molecule Man, Moondragon, the Masters of Evil, and a whole new lineup, including Hawkeye, She-Hulk, and surprise inductee Tigra on the Avengers. And it also has the Vision and Scarlet Witch miniseries, which is pretty interesting. Epic Collections rule the world. Next up, Fantastic Four Epic Collection Volume 18. This collects some issues from 1987 to 1988. Let's see, who are some of the creators on this volume? Ooh, this looks nice. So this got Jim Starlin, Steve Englehart, Peter David, Ed Norton, Mark Grunwald, penciled by Bernie Wrights and John Buscema, Keith Pollard, Sal Buscema, Kieran Dwyer, Jeff Purvis, and Butch Geis, and Ron Lim. Very cool stuff there. Now we got another modern era epic collection. We've got the New Avengers Volume 3, New Avengers by Brian Michael Bendis. This is the continuation. This is happening right during the Civil War period, which I read Civil War for the first time like a month and a half ago, maybe. And I really loved it. I loved it so much that I wanted to read like everything Marvel going on at that time. And hey, New Avengers is right there on that list. Luke Cage, Wolverine, Spider-Man on the team. Very, very cool stuff. That's exciting. And lastly, speaking of New Avengers, We got Thunderbolts, Epic Collection, Volume 3, containing some stories from 1999 to 2000. I think I showcased this one on a YouTube short earlier this month, so check that out. But that's the last Epic Collection we got, and that's the last book in the haul. So give me a second. I'll give you the quick thumbnail money shot, if you will. All right, so this is the crazy stack of books I got to make room on the shelves for this month that I acquired in the month of May. Got to give a huge shout out to everybody that made this possible. So shout out to Fantagraphics, shout out to Marvel Comics, and then shout out to my LCS as well as Organic Price Books for making these volumes available, whether they were a gift or I purchased them. As you can see, I probably spend way too much money on comics, but it's fun. That's why we're all here, right? Just make sure that you're enjoying these stories. Read something dope today. I'll see you in another video soon. Peace.